Spending. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Strategy Solutions and Sanity. And our super cool guest today is Megan Shapiro. Hi, Megan. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Sam. Can I call you Sam or should I call you Samantha in this more formal setting?
Oh, you know what? If you're mad at me, you can use all the syllables and then some. But let's stick with Sam if we're on good terms. That's my
Okay.
cues, right?
Yeah.
And I just have to say, like the pink lipstick, the pink all, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wish I could like just be bold enough to wear red lipstick all the time or something. But
Okay. Well,
I
let's
love
be super clear. I like only wear it when I'm appearing on camera. It's not like I walk around.
oh,
I'm not Taylor Swift over here. I don't walk around with the red lip all the time.
right. You're like, let's be real, guys. Okay, so quick intro. As always, I like to hype up my guests and get you excited about who we're bringing on stage and exactly like why it matters to listen to them. Because I mean, I don't bring on crappy people, right? So just kind of doing my re-cyber stalking of Megan. I already know her, but I'm just re-cyber stalking, so I know all the things to highlight. And one of your websites, and I was just like, I wish I had that on my LinkedIn. Can I just like steal your copy? Because it's exactly how I feel about you and also like how our energy lines up. And you introduce yourself as high energy, high impact, and zero fluff. And that is verbatim what I have experienced from you. Like, yeah, we're showing up in like hot pink lipstick and we're showing up goofy, but you're also a no BS person, which I think is part of like the lawyer aspect of you. So we're going to get into all the things that you do, but I want to know the evolution of Megan. Like, were you always this like show up, be bold, like, yeah, we might care a little bit about what people say, but overall F them? Or was this an evolution in your career?
Oh, that's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that one before. So kudos.
Hmm,
So I actually have two separate answers, weirdly.
okay.
The sort of like what you see is what you get side of me, I've been like that since birth. In fact, growing up in the Midwest, I was born and raised in Missouri, although I live in California now. I didn't move out here until law school when I was 22. So for the first part of my life, I was in the Midwest, and I would always get from adults like, when did you move here from New York? When did you move here from the East Coast? Because I guess I project that sort of like stereotypical East Coast, like
Mm.
no bullshit vibe. And I've done it since I was a kid. So that has just like, it is who I am. It's in my DNA. The sort of embracing of it has been an evolution though.
Mm.
I probably, because I grew up in the Midwest, and there is like, at least back in the 80s and 90s when I grew up there was an emphasis on sort of like, it was still that old school mentality of like, women should be pretty and seen and not heard kind of thing. And yeah, I know, right? And so probably it was just ingrained in me that I always try to sort of like damp it down, keep it under
Mm.
control, apologize when it got too out of control or when I was too in your face or too blunt. And I really think that like choosing to go to law school in California probably was the best thing for me in terms of just embracing it. And I've said to you many times, Sam, offline, because we have known each other for a while now. I've said to you many times, like, people either love me or hate me. And I used to try to counteract that. And
Mm.
since I hit my mid 30s, I just don't give a shit anymore. I am who I am. Take it or leave it. If you don't like me, don't
Yeah.
follow me.
Oh my gosh, it is exhausting to kind of play up to people. And we talked about this a little bit of like, I know how to play the chameleon, and sometimes that serves me really well. But then I end up feeling like super manipulative and kind of greasy. And I'm like, it's also just exhausting to do that.
Yeah.
But I appreciate kind of the backstory here because it makes me think of also kind of how I grew up. So there's a video of me when I'm like 2 years old. This is in Puerto Rico, where Puerto Rico, like there's a bunch of hurricanes. So everything is just like tile and concrete blocks, right? Like you don't build a house out of just wood because it's going to get smacked down. But there's a video of me. I'm 2 years old. I've got those plastic heels and I'm like clomping around going, no, no, no. And just like going to everybody in the room telling them no, because it's my way or the highway, right? But then also, my mom grew up like West Side Story. We're talking Bronx, New York. Like she has been followed in stores because she's the Puerto Rican
Oh,
wearing a raincoat when it's pouring outside, but that's suspicious. She might steal something, right? And
yeah.
so for me growing up in the South, like Florida, kind of Florida border with Georgia, she very much was like kind of dissociating from being Hispanic. And it's like, okay, you're just going to fit in. You're going to blend in. You're not going to cause a ruckus. You're not going to be like the loud Puerto Rican. And so I think for a lot of my childhood, it was like be that chameleon. And now you've also kind of inspired me in this way of just like, F that. We're just going to show up and be a little goofy hot mess and just kind of see what happens. How have you seen that maybe serve you well in business now? Like, have we seen like, okay, this not only feels good, but it's also like showing some ROI or some profit here as well?
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of your listeners, and I know you have heard that sort of classic business adage of like push and pull, right? Like be who you
Mm,
are, put it out there, and then you'll attract the people that you want to be working with, and you'll push away simultaneously the people that you don't want to be working with anyway. And I think that that's definitely been my experience, right? Like I said to you recently when we saw each other in person about a month and a half ago that I just feel like our energies play well together. And I think that if I was still in that mode of like my 20s and early 30s of like try to be everything to everybody and not stir the pot too much and try to just be quote unquote likable, I think that my natural energy wouldn't come across and I wouldn't form those genuine connections with people
mm,
that are so similar to me, the ones that I want to go deeper with, like, people like you and others in our community that we've, had the benefit and real privilege of getting to know deeper over the last 2 or so years that we've all known each other. So I think that that translates directly to actual tangible dollars in my business and ROI, because
mm,
I think when you show up like that, not only are you forming genuine connections, but that comes across to potential customers and clients in a way that builds trust. And I think, everybody talks now about the sort of trust deficit that we seem to be in with the rise of
mm,
AI. The corollary to that, of course, is now nobody knows what's real and how to trust expertise or not. And so we're in this real trust deficit. And I think if you constantly show up in a genuine way, the way you really genuinely are, whether it's on a live stream, whether it's on one-on-one conversation, whether it's in person at a networking event, conference situation, when people start to see you always, all the time, showing up in exactly the same way, you can't help but realize, okay, this person really is authentic. This is who they obviously are.
mm.
You can't be on all the time in all of these different formats and venues. And so I think that the people that hire me, that pay me, resonate with that energy and trust me because I show up authentically, consistently.
Oh, I love that because there are times where my husband, who's definitely a little bit more corporate than I am, which is good yin and yang. But there are times when he's like, "Do you want to phrase it that way?" Or like, "I
Yeah.
think that that's like repelling this kind of person," and I'm like, "Repel them!" Like this, like I mean, definitely I take his advice sometimes of like, "Okay, we're gonna calm this down," but there's other times where I'm like, "No, like this is how I'm gonna just choose to show up, and people are paying me to show up this way."
Yep.
But let me kind of take a step back. We're going to go off script and kind of put a hold on me asking your insanity moments in business because my curiosity is driving here.
Yeah.
Because I think also in the language of like be authentic, especially going like in like the women's circle, because part of what you do is focusing on coaching women. I think that sometimes there's an overcompensation there. And it goes past the point of be authentic and show up. And now it's going into like an obnoxious area of like now we've kind of lost touch maybe like with who all is in the room. And so taking a step back to like do it like a lawyer, right? There are times where you need to have a pulse on who's in the room. And maybe you don't want to be a total chameleon, but you need to kind of maybe adjust to those personalities. So how do you balance that as a lawyer?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because this is one of the core tenets that I focus on in my Do It Like a Lawyer trainings with women in business, because I think it is so important, because I agree completely with your observation. And I think people really struggle, especially women, really struggle with finding that balance, right? Of like being true and authentic, but also recognizing that you need to meet your audience where they are or you're going to alienate everybody, right? And so the lessons that I sort of pull from my experience as an attorney is really focused on know your audience. And it's not inauthentic to adjust your tone and delivery style based on your audience and your desired outcomes. That's not
Mm,
inauthentic. That's strategic. And that's really the difference. And I think people struggle with feeling like strategy has this sort of like, especially when you're talking about communication, strategy has this sort of like dark, shadowy,
mm,
negative connotation, or at least it can for some people, where they feel like that means manipulative. Like if you're talking about strategic communication, I think sometimes people think that that comes across as manipulative. And it's not at all. Those are two very, very different things. And so you can simultaneously show up authentically, but also be strategic in how you're conveying your message based on the audience that you have in front of you. The example that I love to use that I draw upon as, from my life as a lawyer is the difference between how I communicate with a judge versus communicating with opposing counsel versus communicating with my own client, right? The context of the communication itself, what I'm talking about, the messaging might be exactly the same, but how I'm delivering that message is going to be different based on who I'm talking to and who the audience is that I'm delivering that message to. I have to communicate with my clients in a way where I have to take out the legalese, of course, right? It needs to be much more conversational so that they can understand the things and topics that I'm talking about. Whereas if I'm communicating with a judge, I got to be bringing my A game, right? I've got to be making legal arguments that are backed up with case precedent, case citations, the law, things like that. And when I'm communicating with opposing counsel, it needs to be all primarily based on persuasion, right? And so nothing about any of those messaging is inauthentic. I'm still showing up authentically the way I am. It's still Megan flavored. It's just adjusting how I'm delivering it based on who I'm delivering it to.
Yeah. Oh, first off, I love that we're really just grounding something that can feel abstract and up in the clouds. I love how Jesse is phrasing this. Thank you for joining us today, Jesse. Strategery, code switching and the force. So absolutely, like we can either feel like my nerd's going to come out here. You can feel like Darth Vader here. You can feel like you're a Sith Lord or something, manipulate all you want. Or you can maybe kind of Yodify it a little bit, Luke Skywalker it, and change it up a little bit, right? And so I like that because also like when I look at, okay, how am I going to talk about a problem with a client versus maybe a VA? Or if I'm like trying to figure out processes, how am I going to dissect that with a team member that's super reserved and doesn't want to tell me the real gossip, and which I need to know to fix the shit, right? Yeah. Versus like the CEO that's like, okay, give me the KPIs, give me this, give me that, right? Like I'm going to just change how I show up for that. And it doesn't have to be inauthentic. So, okay. We said that was an evolution, right? You've always been this way, but it was at least embracing it. So if we go back to the core of our show and we talk about the moments that you've lost your sanity in business, is it going to be along the same lines of just having to show up authentically? Or are there other moments where you've been like, what the is going on?
Yeah. So a little peek behind the curtain for your viewers and listeners. Gratefully, you told me ahead of time what you really wanted to focus on so that you give me a chance to think that through, which I was so appreciative. And not only because I didn't want to just show up unprepared, but also because I really struggled digging into what is the best answer to this question. And I think I came up with one that people are going to really relate to and resonate with that is going to probably surprise you too. But I think in order to give you that answer, I've got to give a little bit more context and background, because when you talk about business, for those of you who may not know me, I'm sort of a double-hatted dual business owner. I still practice law full-time at a law firm, of which I'm a 20% equity owner. So that's one business. But the bulk of what I do on LinkedIn is really my other business, which is the contract coaching and the do it like a lawyer offerings. And so my answers to those would be very, very different. And very few people can actually relate to the business of running a law firm because it doesn't really run like most other businesses. So I really try to think about the struggles that I faced with starting and running my own business, which is only about 2 years old at this point. And when I thought about it through that lens, the thing that I have really struggled with and continue to struggle with to this day is pricing my offers. And and to tie it all together, I think in part I struggle with that because at the law firm as a lawyer, everybody knows how lawyers charge and everybody just assumes lawyers are really expensive. So I rarely get pushback when it comes to an engagement agreement and a fee structure in my law firm life. And I never set my billable hour rate because I started as a baby. So the partners at the firm back then set it, right? And then it's just grown as I've grown with really no input from me. So it just is what it is. And I never had to give it any thought at all. And so when I started my own business, my own service-based business, I had to then go like, how do I value my time and experience in a way that is, again, going to meet people where they are, where they're going to see the value because I'm not giving them legal advice. I'm not giving them legal services. And I have not figured it out. I have not figured it out.
Oh, are we about to have just a little mini coaching session? No, that's okay. Like we're not going to get into like all the spreadsheets, but that is something that we hear across the spectrum, not only in like the consulting world, but also like in just regular everyday businesses, right? You might have like a fractional CFO come in and be like, where is your profit? Like, where did you come up with these numbers, right? And I think also on that point, part of why it's a little bit tricky is because it's not easy to get competitive research or competitor research on this. It's not easy to know what someone else is charging unless it's on their website, right? Like for me on the virtual assistant side, there are mega VA agencies that give me some kind of price point to say like, okay, like this is what you're getting with them. And then also I can super easily compare that to like freelance platforms, to job postings for W-2 stuff. Like there's a lot out there for me on that side of stuff. But on the consulting side, it's just to like network with someone and then it's like, hey, do you want to share your prices with me? Like, what are you doing in your neck of the woods, right? So you're still kind of going through an evolution of that. And part of that is also because you've changed your offerings though. Like you're not struggling with pricing on like the same offering from where you were 2 years ago. This is now, or at least you've had kind of different variations of those services, right?
Sort of. There has been
Mm.
an evolution in terms of the offerings. When I first started the side business, it was exclusively to offer an online course. That
Mm.
was it. And I never even did that. So there has been an evolution of the offers themselves, but even with regard to my sort of core offers, I still struggle with it because I do have, I have a ton of cheerleaders. You again are one of them. I have a ton of cheerleaders in my corner that are constantly saying, you need to be charging more, you need to be charging more, you need to be charging more. But again, to sort of bring it all full circle, I think I would be remiss if I ignored the connection between struggling with figuring out how to value my services and what I offer with the upbringing that I had, which is that sort of like, I'm not that great. I'm not that special. I'm not bringing anything of real value
Mm.
to the table. And so I think that sort of like psychological component plays a huge role in my pricing because I consistently hear, even from the people who hire me and pay me, that I need to be charging more. And I do have a business coach, and she also tells me all the time that I need to be charging more. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I do think that, like, yes, there's been an evolutionary component to it. But I think the bigger part of it for me is that psychological component of like, I keep hearing the same messaging over and over and over again from every single facet that would engage with my business, and it's still not sticking and resonating. And so it's like, why, right? Why?
Mm. Okay. Okay. I hear that. I hear that. And so what I also hear is like we might not be getting to the strategy and solutions because we're still figuring this out, right? And part of why I really understand what you're saying is I'm going to bring that to the personal side, right? Because it's kind of where we're going anyway. Um, like my one of my love languages is words of affirmation, right? But there are also times where words don't mean shit. Like my husband will be like, "You look so good today," and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, or he'll be like, he'll just say like over and over, you're doing such great work. And I'm like, I don't believe what you're saying. Cause like, even though the proof is in the pudding, the like invoices are coming in, you're saying these cool things. Like there's that inner voice that's like, what are you doing, Sam? Right. And that's a really hard thing to overcome. And so if we are open to brainstorming a little bit on a strategy and going a little off script or further off script here, because that's just our way, I think it's hard to change your prices all at once. And like, let's also pull on, there are some examples of like some email marketing coaches that have said, you know what, I don't want to do high ticket. I want to do like high volume. And they've built memberships that are like $9 a month, but then they get thousands and thousands of people. Right. And so it's one looking at how do you want to show up and who do you want to serve? Right. And like, does a low price point matter for them? And if that's the case, cool, cater to that, and then introduce a different high ticket thing, right? So you don't have to change everything at once and you can hold on to the smaller ticket stuff. Like I do that, right? That's part of why we have different levels of virtual assistants. We have the admin rates for the people that are like, I just need someone. I don't want to hire overseas, but like I can't afford super expensive US. Okay, here's your starter. And then like if you want something a little bit more zha zha zha, here's the prices for that, right? How does that resonate with you? Like, have you experimented with that?
I have, and like, not to turn this into a sales pitch, but the timing of this is just so funny because we did not have this part of the conversation ahead of time.
Mm.
I actually, to my LinkedIn post today is actually,
Ooh.
yeah, it's actually links to my lowest ticket offer, which is $9. Ironic. Like again, we did not set this up.
Shameless plug.
I know,
Shameless
right?
plug.
Oh my God, it feels dirty and gross, but it's so timely, and it is like it is resonant to the answer that I wanted to give. Which so I have tried it. I have experimented with it. I think based on the small sample size that I have, because I don't push it very frequently, so I don't have a ton of data to draw upon. But I think there's also a disconnect with what is considered a low ticket offer for somebody who is an attorney, because I think a lot of people will look at, oh, thank you for posting that. I think a lot of people will look at a $9 offer from me and go like, there can't be any value at all in a $9 offer from an attorney. And so I still continue to struggle with like, what is the sweet spot? Maybe because I look at what I did and I'm drawing on 15 years of practice. So it doesn't take me long to create these things at this point. So I'm like, okay, well, I put that thing together in about a half hour. How much am I really going to charge for this? Right. But what I fail to take into account is the value that the buyer is receiving. And that's what I need to really be valuing, right? It's not about pricing based on the time I put into it, because how do you value that because it would 5 years ago, it would have taken me an hour to do it. 10 years ago, it would have taken me 2 hours to do it. 15 years ago, I wouldn't have had enough knowledge and experience to even make it at all. So how do you value that? So I need to stop looking at it as valuing the time it took me to create it, and instead look at trying to price based off of the value that the people are receiving who get it. Right.
I hear that. And you could do like market research with that and just ask like, hey, what are you comfortable paying for this? Right. You could get surveys and do all that stuff. What I'm hearing in some of that though, is kind of this like external pressure. Like, cause I think that there's a lot of pricing coaches, and I think there's a lot of social media content and language out there about like, this is what you should be doing. And like, if you want to have a 7-figure business, right. And it's like, okay, well, if we take a step back, Jesse, we're gonna take a real step back because Jesse's struggling with pricing his feet pics. I hear that. Okay.
$1,000 each, Jesse. There's your answer.
Like 5 G's for a toe. What the world has come to. I think there's because, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to push back on some stuff here, because I think that this actually resonates with more people than we realize, kind of to your point earlier. One, you have switched your offerings, right? You've switched what your focus has been. And anytime you do that, it's always going to be hard, because typically pricing on value comes from the consistency of the offer and consistency of the testimonials and values from that offer, right? And that's when we then have the confidence to like, and like raise a little bit. I don't know why was the sound for that. Maybe the feet pics got to my head there. But so pushing back on that. And then also going back to like, there's a lot of pressure to do things a certain way, to reach a certain profitable point. And it's kind of like you're putting that pressure on yourself because you have a really successful business as as an equity partner in the law firm, right? So having to reach certain profit points is not like, gotta do this or like, we're going to die kind of milestone, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's like, I think that definitely contributes in part to the struggle, right? Because I don't feel that pressure of like, this is my only source of income. I have to pay my bills. And so I think that helps it feel good to me in terms of doing it. But then it's like it's counteracted by those are the things that I struggle with. I'm in a very privileged position to not need to rely on the income that I generate from my side business. I really just get to do it because I love it, which again is like a great place to be, but it almost makes it like an expensive hobby. So that's why I've got to figure out what the balance is. So I'm always learning. It's a journey.
Well, then on the flip side, then you have people that just like pulled numbers straight out their ass, and they're like, oh, this is like maybe what another coach offered for totally different target market and a totally different service offering, but the numbers sounded really pretty. So this is what we're going to do. And then they wonder why like it totally flops and like no one's buying it because it's not curated for you and your audience. Right.
Yep.
So, okay. I really appreciate the thought you put into trying to find the sanity moment, but let me ask, are there other moments where you're like, oh, what? Like, and I mean, this could be from Do It Like a Lawyer. It could be from your Converge Summit, could be from the law firm itself. Cause I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, peek behind the curtain. We struggled with like hiring the right team member for a little bit. So what are the other moments that have just been like, I'm trying to run a business and like XYZ keeps throwing me off?
Yeah. I mean, I have so many examples, and like, pricing wasn't the first one that popped into my head when
Mm.
I was thinking about how I was going to answer this question, but the other one felt like a little bit too vulnerable for me.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
okay.
I know.
Run away from it.
I know, right? Run away, run away. I don't know if you follow Amy Porterfield, but she has this great saying where she says that she likes to share her scars, but not her wounds, right? So like she'll talk about it, like the struggle once she's gotten past it, but she doesn't like to talk about it when she's in it. And so like this one felt like a little bit like, but I think I'm trying to figure out how I can share it in a way that's a little bit less hyper vulnerable. So I think
Okay.
like one of the biggest things that I struggle with is creating offers to serve what feel like disparate audiences. And by that, what I mean
Okay.
is I started out with the construction contract coaching, right? Like that was where I started because that draws directly on my experience as an attorney. As I always say, subs have my heart. I want to do anything that I can to help subcontractors win more projects, eliminate risk, and maximize profitability. I want to do everything I can to help the trades do that. That's where it really started. As a natural outgrowth of that, though, came the Do It Like a Lawyer stuff that focused on communication. And I created that program originally for the Women in Construction Conference that the Sacramento Region Builders Exchange hosts here in Sacramento. I know there are women in construction conferences all over the country, but this was for the Sacramento one. I created that for that conference. I did a workshop at that conference last year, 2024. And it really resonated with the women in the room. And I was like, oh my God, I want to serve these people too. I want to serve this audience and this crowd. And this type of messaging is really resonating with them. It's really serving them. And so it sort of naturally grew out of that. But now it's like figuring out how to market those two very different offers and very different lines of service has been a massive, massive struggle. Which is why, to your point, at the beginning when you introduced me, you said you looked at one. I think you said you looked at one of my websites. Yeah, I have 3 websites because I'm trying to figure out like how do I make this all live together, right? So like meganshapiro.com links to constructioncontractcoach.com and doitlikealawyer.com, and then of course convergeconstructionsummit.com. So I actually have 4 websites. Wasn't thinking about converging that one, and so I'm really struggle with like how to really get the messaging out in a way that doesn't alienate one audience while nurturing the other, if that makes sense. So that's probably, in terms of sanity, that's the thing that drives me the most crazy, is figuring out how to, because I've neglected marketing Do It Like a Lawyer because I don't know how to, I haven't figured out how to bridge that gap. My business coach hasn't figured out how to bridge that gap. None of my peers and mentors that I talk to regularly, nobody's really got a great answer to that. And so that's the thing that drives
Looking for Jesse's comments. I'm like, Jesse, give us the answer here. But
well,
okay,
it's so funny that you said Jesse, because I don't know if you know this history, but Jesse was the very first person that actually said to me, you need to like do it like a lawyer. That's the thing you need to be focusing on. Because I think I used to say it as like a throwaway line. It was not part of the branding. And at the very first Converge, which wasn't called Converge back then, I did about half the programming because it was new and there were a few of us. And so I did a lot of this communication stuff, this like lawyer-based communication, like how to use persuasion in your business like a lawyer does. How do you like that's what I did a lot at the very first Converge. And Jesse, of course, was there. He's one of my first sponsors. And at the end of it, he came to me and he was like, this is your thing. This is what you need to be leaning into. And I agree. Obviously, I've embraced it, but what I haven't figured out is how to market it. So it's so funny that you said Jesse should solve this problem for us. I would love it because he's the one who created it in the first place.
All paths lead to Megan. Exactly, honestly, and hot pink lipstick. So let me take a step back because really the through line there, and maybe not so much with Converge because Converge pulls on a little bit more on the service providers of the construction world. But when you were describing like these women and everything and like, okay, it resonates with them. We're describing, okay, we want to really help the subs. A through line came up for me, and maybe I'm totally off base. So we're just going to continue with the brainstorming here. And I want to mention in my own vulnerability, I'll match you so you're not like stranded on the island of like, all of my secrets are out there. I also really struggled with this because when I started my business, it was like, okay, we have VA stuff, and it was like more serving solopreneurs. And then we have this like very intense process improvement. And then I separated the businesses. They both had OXO, but they were separate. And then like they came back together and then they went apart again. And then I was like, that doesn't make sense. Bring them back. And now like I've finally figured out the through line and connection for it all. But I similarly just went through like waves, tidal waves, like freaking tsunamis. Okay. But what I'm hearing, if we go back to what the evolution of Megan has been, of always showing up in this way, but having to learn how to embrace it, it sounds like you're serving audiences, whether it's women or these subs. You're serving audiences that have been told they don't matter as much as this other person, right? Subs don't matter as much as this GC. They're the big player on the job site, right? Like we don't give a shit about you. How are you going to make them happy, right? And like women similarly, and I say this like I'm usually not like a women rule the world, right? But like I've had my own moments, right? If someone's like, oh, she's like that way because she has to deal with Latino men, and I'm like, F you, like I'm like this way because that's how my mama from the Bronx raised me. But, so I'm like I don't usually fall into the like women need to rule language and ideology there. But I mean, when you see them in male dominated industries, in especially in construction, they usually have some subtle things of like, you don't matter as much as this other white dude that's been on the job site for 20 something years, right? And so that is what I'm hearing as your through line. Have we thought about that before? Does it feel off base?
I haven't thought about that before. And I'm actually surprised that I haven't, because the way you said it just seemed so obvious and natural. So it definitely, it hits for sure, but no, I haven't thought about it like that before. But I think you're absolutely right. And I agree with you. Like, I want to just take a quick opportunity to just clarify. I also am not like women rule the world, right? Like, that's not my message. But what my message is look, I've been a woman in 2 male dominated industries my entire career, because yes, law is still male dominated, believe it or not, in 2025, especially construction law as a subspecialty, very male dominated. And so I know, and I've lived that experience of like, look, I'm not saying you have to do what I say. I'm just saying, could you listen to what I have to say? Could you just give me 3 seconds to share what I think? Because it might be a valuable idea. It might not be the best idea in the room, but we don't know that if you never even hear it. Right. So I just wanted to take one quick second to just clarify so that nobody's getting the wrong impression about like, oh, if I work with Megan, it's just going to be all feminism all day. That's not my message. Right. Like, my message is just like, we need to be able to take ownership of our seat at the table, just so that we can have our voices heard, so that we can be a part of the conversation, so that we can contribute to finding the best solution to problems.
Yeah. I mean, hey guys, if my 5-year-old can call me out on things all the time, like on parenting things, on things I forget. I mean, I pretty much have mentioned good Lord. I have mentioned Jesus in like every episode so far. And there was one time I'm like telling my kid, he's like, how'd you do that? And I was like, because I have magic. And he's like, you don't have magic. Jesus is the only one with superpowers. And I'm like, you're right. Okay. Like, so if my 5-year-old can show me up, then I think a grown ass woman with years of experience might also have a valuable idea at your table, right? Just saying. So I hear you. But yeah, I think okay, so let me get back on track, because I can brainstorm with you all day long. So what I'm hearing is a little bit of the strategy and solution in kind of these different moments in the evolution of your business has really kind of focused on the value of community and the value of, maybe you don't have a mentor. Maybe some people can't afford a business coach and they haven't quite found like, oh, this is the person that I'm really going to look up to. But there's at least those peers that you can lean on and be like, I'm struggling with this, or I have this idea. What do you think? Or they're like Jesse and they're the cheerleaders that are like, you haven't thought about this, but like you really need to, and like push you to that next level. Have you seen that as like a big proponent in your current success?
Oh my God, like 100%. Like, and when I say, so I mentioned earlier, I am working with a business coach. And she is somebody that I actually worked with way back in 2017 originally. And so she obviously has value. I went back to her for a reason. I'm going on year 2 in a row with her. So there's definitely value there. But I don't want to over lean into the value that she brings, because it is completely different than all of the other things that you just mentioned, which really, truly got me to the place where I could even afford to hire a business coach, where I could get to that level of like, she brings like the nitty gritty, super intense strategy on specific things, right? But I would never have even gotten to this place without the community. So I could not agree any stronger with the community aspect of this. I would not be where I am at all without the community. And by that, I very intentionally mean the LinkedIn construction community. Like I always call it the construction corner of LinkedIn. I used to, back in 2023, when we all started posting daily, I used to call it LinkedIn High. Like we would all like meet at our lockers in between classes while we're all actually doing our regular jobs. We're like still posting on, commenting on each other's posts in the seams of the day. So I used to call it like meeting at our lockers in the hallways in between classes. But like that original class of 2023, and then those who have joined the class since then in 2024, and God, we're halfway through 2025 already. Where did that time go? It's been invaluable, like invaluable in terms of the cheerleading, like you said, the collaboration, the encouragement, the brainstorming, the feedback. I mean, like I couldn't do it without the community that I've built, nor would I want to. And I think that's really the bigger takeaway is for me. And again, I recognize the place of privilege I come from in not having to rely on my side business as my sole source of income. But it has given me this opportunity to prioritize and emphasize those relationships, which is why, by the way, to tie it all together again, why Converge ever even became a thing. Because for me, I started this trying to launch an online course that I never even launched. But what I really get out of it, the selfish part of it, is the community and the relationships with all of the people. And I talk to my community on an almost daily basis, whether it's text message, whether it's communicating on LinkedIn, whether it's live streams, Zooms, whatever it is, I'm talking to my community daily. And that's the selfish part of what I get out of it. And certainly 100% the solution, the thing that keeps me sane.
Absolutely. I mean, like anyone that's listening, if you do not have that in your business, like you need to be intentional about going out to find that. So a few things on that. First off, I was laughing really hard when you brought up the locker idea, because in my email newsletter today, I've called out how like some people think I'm a type A person, but like I forget a lot of stuff. Like I'm a type A minus is what someone's called me.
Oh my
But when you're talking, yeah, right. I'm like not total type B, but like, it's
type A
above type B. But you're talking about lockers, and it just like reminded me of like maybe I am type A, because I remember in high school I would always look at people that are like just like leaning up against their lockers talking. I'm like, we got another class to go to. How do you have this much time to like walk from this class to like we've got things to do, And that's like teenage Sam, right? Like I didn't just chill in the hallway in between classes, and like there are times for breaks. And that's like at lunch mostly, okay? Like get moving. But also I want to kind of dive into the community and LinkedIn on that, because also in that email, funnily enough, the connection here was like, I don't have time to just waste on crappy networking. Like I just try at least to put my all, or not my all, let's be real, quite a bit of energy into the people that are in my circle. Like if they reach out for something, if they need something, I do put quite a bit of effort into showing up and supporting them and brainstorming with them and all those things. And I've been in the trap of like doing that for way too many people that can provide no value. Right. And I remember in the summit we had a few weeks ago, this online summit, we had this sales and marketing panel, and they really emphasized community, but also like how they don't like when people reach out to them for coffee chats. They're like, that's a pointless waste of time. I'm like, well, that has served me really well. That's how I met you, how I met several other people. So where have you found that balance? Also going back to like the decay of trust. A lot of AI posts. Sometimes when you look at someone's LinkedIn profile, you still don't have an idea of who they are and if they're worth talking to. So have you really found that balance in building out your community and all of your LinkedIn people?
Yeah. So it's interesting because when you and I were sort of brainstorming your upcoming offers together, I mentioned to you that I've seen a decline in show up rates for live streams, right? Because I used to do a monthly live stream. Was it monthly? I don't know. I used to do a regular live stream back in 2024 with Josh Lebker and John Goose Dunham. And we stopped doing it primarily because people just stopped showing up as much. And I think that sounds like a total non sequitur, but the tie-in is I also think that correlates to the value of coffee chats, because to your point, I also built this community through doing coffee chats. Again, that's how we met. That's Jesse and I did a coffee chat early in our interactions on LinkedIn. a lot of people, that's how I really met them. And I used to actually do an open call. I would just have my link on my profile, my LinkedIn profile, the link to just schedule a coffee chat. So people could just set it themselves. I didn't do any vetting at all. And it served me well in the second half of 2023 and probably the first 3 quarters of 2024. And after that, I noticed a very dramatic decline. And the difference was the people that I was connecting with and doing coffee chats in those early days, it was really just all about like building our networks and getting to know each other to see if we were a good fit, if there was any way we could help each other. But there were no sales pitches at all. And that was like the one rule I had, that I would say, like, schedule your own coffee chat, but I'm not pitching you anything and I don't want to be pitched anything. That was the only rule I had. And I think that that's how we built up these connections. But I think people, to your point of like, time is valuable and we don't really want to waste our time doing things that aren't going to lead to an ROI a lot. I think people kind of overcorrected with that mentality. And now coffee chats are exclusively about, let me tell you what I can sell. And if you've got people that want to buy it, right? It's like, yeah, I want to get to know you, but I only want to get to know you to the extent of, are there people in your network that you can send me as a client? And so I've stopped doing them. I've stopped doing them almost completely, almost. Equally, I do not. Oh, hi, Rocio.
Yes. Hey, you're one of my favorites too. Thanks for joining us today.
Rocio is amazing. I love her. So equally, I think that applies to DMs on LinkedIn. I have a strict, I do not respond to cold DMs policy if the DM is very clearly sales related. I mean, and it's so fun. I almost talk about like being too much, right? So I had like your husband helps you moderate sometimes. I self-moderated this one, but I almost screenshotted my LinkedIn inbox and did a post about it, because I had back to back identical follow-up messages that were verbatim the exact same. So either they were using the same AI tool for their DMs, or they were following the same coach for their DMs, but it was verbatim the same language. And I was just like, what makes you think that in a world where time is money, that I'm going to spend my time responding to that? So I won't even bother. They'll always conclude it on like message 5 or 6 with like, well, you obviously are too busy. Let me know if you want to get in touch in the future. Like, I won't even respond to, I literally just let them die. I do not respond. I give them nothing, because it's in my opinion, and this is going to be an unpopular hot take, it is rude and disrespectful, in my opinion. I mean it. I really think it's rude and disrespectful to come into somebody's DM without even bothering to try to establish a connection first before you immediately start pitching something. I don't know how people think that works. Maybe it works for them, but to what we talked about earlier, push pull, I don't want to work with somebody like that. And I don't want to work with people who want to work with people like that. So I'm never going to implement that strategy. And so long winding path to get to your point, which is, I think what's working for me anyway now is less the sort of indiscriminate coffee chats of like, anybody who wants to meet me, let's do it, let's talk, which used to work. And now it's really more about referrals. And by that, I don't mean business referrals. I mean like, oh, Jesse said that I should reach out to you for the following reason, right? And Jesse, because I think that's the most recent one I got of those. And I'll always do that, right? If it's somebody that I already have a connection with and they're suggesting somebody reach out to me, even if there's even if it's like, Megan can help you do this following thing, I'm totally fine with that, because I trust my own network, my own community to have pre-vetted this, that you're not connecting me with somebody who's going to cold pitch me. Right. And I'm happy to be the one that's giving the value. Right. So another example is I connected with somebody on LinkedIn and we've exchanged several actual in-depth DMs. I think we maybe did a coffee chat. I honestly can't remember. But we've been building enough of a connection. She reached out recently and said, hey, I recently met a student who's interested in going into a female student who's interested in going into construction law. Would you mind connecting with her and talk? Absolutely. Like, I'll spend 2 hours on a Zoom with this student who's interested in considering construction law, especially a woman, right? Absolutely. Totally happy to do that. That's not a cold connection to me though, right? Like, I'll give my time because it's a pre-vetted situation. So I'm really leaning into expanding and growing my network based on referrals from people that I already have a connection with. So that's how I'm being a little bit more protective and intentional with my time. That's what's working for me right now.
Yeah, I'm really taking that like collaboration over competition approach. Like there are people that are like, hey, this person might want to start their own VA thing or go into ops. Like talk to them about your ups and downs. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like let's do it. Because also I'll probably realize some things that I like, some basics that I haven't been doing for myself, and I'll just be coaching myself through this conversation. But let me break down a few things that you said there. So look, first of all, let's realize that cold outreach can work if it's not pitched first. Right. And so
Yes.
there are a few DM pet peeves of mine. First off, if your first pitch or your first message includes any kind of link, calendar link, YouTube link, lead magnet link, I don't give a damn. I am not clicking on it. Excuse yourself. Second is like, again, when it's like a cold, just straight up cold pitch, like immediately saying, we do this, like learn more, etc. Right. There's no kind of question. There's just an assumption. So glad I met all of y'all before you raised your standards. Okay, well, I know I'll backtrack to that actually, Jesse. I know that we're being funny, but I'm going to backtrack to that. And then the third thing is when people reach out saying like, "Do you need a VA?" And I'm like, "Hot damn." Like I know in the past week I've posted about VAs. Like if y'all just read a little bit, like that means like no research, total cold DM or automation. Like fix something because your process is broken. 3 pet peeves.
Wait, can I just
So,
really quickly on your
yeah,
third one?
yeah.
The number
Mhm.
of DMs that I get where people think I'm a construction company owner. They think I own a construction company. I'm like, you didn't even look at my profile. You didn't even look at
Uh-huh.
it.
That tells me we're using Apollo.io, we're using Seamless.ai, some kind of tool that is just scraping for keywords, and then there's no research behind it. So I totally am behind. Use these tools to build your list, but then use some common freaking sense. I'm about to drop the F bomb. Use a little bit of common sense, sprinkle it in there somewhere, and like, hey, is this like, or you hire someone, hire a VA, hire an international freelancer off Upwork, just then scrape the list and say, okay, here are excellent, like poor, bad referrals or bad connections, whatever. Like, don't go down that route. That's going to be dumb. Right. Next, let's look at, okay, referral partners and is someone going to be worth your time? I think that what people miss and what they don't realize is if like first off, if you don't have a referral partner, you need to focus on that part of your network first. Like you cannot approach Megan knowing that she already has this great community and assuming you're going to slide in as this great referral partner first bat, right? Like no, you at this point you're looking for more professional development type of partners and like people to brainstorm with, and then like okay, cool. If you also happen to know someone, that makes you a cherry on top star like in my network, awesome. If you don't have referral partners, you cannot focus on that at all. However, on that note as well, if you don't have referral partners, you have to look for someone else that also doesn't have a referral partner in that space or isn't happy with their referral partner in that space. So maybe they're not kicking ass at a LinkedIn community. Maybe they aren't like top of the food chain in their industry, but that's okay because y'all can both help each other kind of raise the bar a little bit, right? And I think people are just trying to play at different levels. And it's like when you're dating, like that person out of your league, you can shoot your shot, you can shoot your shot, but like you're probably going to get a little knocked down on that, and do you want to risk that little self-esteem kicker? If you're resilient, go for it, right? Like someone definitely asked me out at the gym the other day and I'm like, I definitely have my like wedding ring on, but I'm flattered. Thank you. I'm about to work 10 times harder on this workout. Like, I appreciate that, but like that person was hella confident. If
Yeah.
you feel hella confident, shoot your shot in a LinkedIn DM. You're probably going to get knocked down, right? Like whatever works for you. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, let me get back on track. So you mostly have people reaching out to you now, like to be in your network. Are you doing a lot of outreach yourself?
I do. This is terrible. So
Oh,
my disclaimer is like, this is not advice. Do not follow this. I do almost zero outreach. I
okay.
that hasn't always been the case, but it's pretty much primarily been the case because I don't have the confidence to shoot my shot. I am always like I'm taking up someone's
Oh,
valuable time. I don't want to be
oh.
I don't want to be I don't have the audacity to just insert myself into their DM. I almost don't even send out connection requests. Almost never. I almost never
Wait,
send. Yeah,
Megan, do
I know.
not follow Megan's advice,
I
y'all.
know. I know. Don't
Send
follow
the
my advice.
request.
Do not follow my advice. Do not. Like that's like I just am on the receiving end of everything. And part of it is because I've got a
Blessings.
case that's going to trial in September. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so almost singularly focused on this big construction case that's set for trial. So I don't know. I've been really neglecting LinkedIn lately anyway. but that's really just more of an excuse because it's just not my natural style. I just don't do it very much. I really don't. The exception is like I will occasionally, here's my dirty secret. And sorry to my network, I hope you don't mind. I usually do it to Josh and he knows I do it, so I think I'm okay. But sometimes when I'm like a little bored on a Sunday afternoon, sitting on the couch with the family watching some movie, I'll scroll through Josh's connections or sometimes I do it to Jesse and others, but mostly Josh because he said it's okay. I'll scroll through his connections and sort by second degree connections. And if I have like a minimum of 20 common connections with people that I'm not already connected to, I'll go ahead and send out a request. After looking at their profile, after making sure that there's a nexus, there's some reason to connect, but I never, ever, 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 ever include a DM with that. It's just a naked connection request. Take it or don't take it. It's a naked connection request.
No, let's bring that back into stats. First off, blank connection requests, like 90 to 99% acceptance rate. Okay. So like typically if you add some kind of note on there, unless it's important that like, hey, you actually connected with this person at an event and you think that they forgot you because you weren't zhuzhing. Yeah. But typically send out a blank connection request. Another tip here, if you have Sales Navigator, search for first or like connections of this person, right? And like maybe they're an ideal referral partner for you. Search for their connections and then just add the filter of like this person has posted in the past 90 days. I don't pay for Sales Nav anymore. So really I just like when I'm scrolling, I just like then cyber stalk the comment sections. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this person is active. Like let me connect with them. Right. And that's how I've been building my network. But I agree. Like sometimes if it doesn't feel authentic, right? Let's bring it full circle. Ha ha ha. If it doesn't feel authentic to you, it's not going to be a good strategy. It's not going to be sustainable. All Jesse heard was naked. I don't know. Jesse's probably sitting somewhere without his pants sometimes, just like, what am I going to post on LinkedIn today? Just kidding, Jesse.
Well, you can't have pants on taking feet pics. You don't want to risk the cuff getting in the photo.
All right, bring it back to goals and objectives. How are we maximizing our revenue and our ROI and our time, people? Okay, well, bring it back on track. Megan, I am so appreciative of all of your vulnerability today, from pricing to what the heck are we doing to what are the audiences and the through line on things. So appreciative of this level of vulnerability. Is there any other, I mean, we kind of just ended on like, don't follow Megan's advice here. Like, don't do what Megan's doing. But like, if you're in a busy period of life, just focus on that, right? Like you don't have to always be growing your LinkedIn. But is there any other piece of advice that you're like, hey, if you're gonna kind of be like Megan, if you're gonna have some of the ferocity, hot pink vibes of Megan's life, do this?
I would say, honestly, it's so funny. I wouldn't have, you triggered it. You triggered the answer by calling it the hot pink vibe. That's my answer. Like, find the thing and lean into it, because here's the dirty little secret. I actually hate the color pink. I hate it. I do not like the color.
Can I give you a rose? Would you?
I do not like the color. Like my nails are black. My dad recently was like, and my glasses are black. My dad recently was like, you need to get pink glasses and you need to switch your nail polish color. And I said, absolutely not. I am a black girly. Like when I get my nails done, I used to tell my pedicurist, she now knows, she doesn't even bother to ask, but I used to always say like black, like my soul. Okay. I am a Scorpio through and through. Black is my color. Okay. The pink thing happened because I went to a women in construction event back. I don't even remember. My God, I think it was early 2024. And I went to a women in construction event just as an attendee. And I just happened to that day choose a hot pink blazer out of my closet that I bought on a whim, only because I was like, I only own black suits. I should probably like maybe put in a little color. And this event happened to be in the spring. I think it was in like March or something. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna break in this hot pink blazer that I've literally never worn before. And I think I wore it with black pants and a black undershirt, right? So I wore this hot pink blazer to this event. And the presenter at this event ended up pulling me out of the crowd to use me for like an example or whatever. And so audience members were like, oh, it's the woman in hot pink. Fast forward, I started going, like when I would go to other events, people would be like, oh my God, you're the hot pink girl. Where's the hot pink blazer? And it became the thing that other people knew me by. And I was like, oh my God,
we're locked in.
I have to embrace it because it became like people associated me with it. And that's how they knew me. And I'm no marketing guru, but I'm also no dummy. And so I'm sitting here going like, well, if that's how they know me, I want to continue to be known by these people. I'm just going to lean into it. I'm going to embrace it. And so I ended up, I changed my logo. My logo, wait, hold on. I'm going to put this logo right here. Used to be navy blue and gold. And so I changed it. It's still got the navy blue, but I added the pink in, the do it like a lawyer logo. It's got the, God, this is so hard with a green screen. That one's got the pink. I wear pink when I'm going to be on video or when I'm in person at events, because it's now it's a through line. And so all of that to say, if a natural thing like that comes up for you, embrace it, lean into it, and make it your thing, even if you hate it, because you can always tell people you hate it. Because every time it comes up, I tell people, and then it becomes even more funny, right? So then people will remember it even more. Now I'm not only the hot pink girl, I'm the hot pink girl who hates hot pink, right? Like my phone case is hot pink. Like I've gone all in. I've embraced it with the exception of my glasses and my nail polish, which will always be black.
Hold on to those little bit of things. But yeah, like respond to the market. Unless it's someone pulling you out of the crowd for feet pics, then maybe, don't respond to the market. But no, I love that for you. And it really goes back to like, I think I want to say you're able to really do that and embrace a color that like ain't you, because you show up so authentically in all other areas of your content and your business. And if you didn't have that, then adding on a style, an appearance, a costume that felt kind of as well would be really mentally draining, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so, like, it seems like such a small thing, but that's why it's so important to me that my fingernails will always be black and my glasses will always be black. My toenails, you may have noticed in Savannah or Sedona, my toenails were pink. So I'll adjust.
You're gonna raise them up.
They're not pink right now because I'm not going anywhere yet. But like that's how I get grounded back into that authenticity, to your point, because you're right. It would feel like a costume and I would feel very fraudulent if I was like, oh no, I'm a hot pink girly. But that's why I always say, as soon as it comes up, I'm not just like running around being like, see my hot pink, I hate it. But if it comes up, I always say, it's so funny. Here's the story, because that makes me still feel authentic. And my nails are black and my glasses are black. And I'm usually wearing black when I'm not on. And so that helps it feel authentic. And now at this point, like, to be really honest, it's like worming its way in. I like kind of like it now. I kind of like it. I'm just being honest. There are some things where I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I love that pink. And I'm like,
who is that?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, my alternate personality just came out of me.
It's actually a color that works for you though. Like if it was a color that like didn't really work with your hair and skin tone, I'd be like, girl, what you doing? But no, it actually works for you. So, okay. Thank you so much for a great strategy solutions and sanity episode. If you're not already following Megan, highly recommend. I will put all her links, maybe not all her domains and websites, but at least her LinkedIn and her main website in the comments. And while she loves the color black, please know that her soul and her heart is not really black. It is a shining light, and you would be so blessed to have her in your community. So thanks for joining us today, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam. And thank you for letting me spend some time with your crowd.
Yeah.